Picture this. You are sitting on your couch. You just finished the last episode of Bridgerton Season 4, and the screen goes dark. Your heart is still racing. You are thinking about Francesca. About everything she went through. About that look on Michaela's face before she disappeared from Mayfair. And then one single thought hits you like a horse-drawn carriage at full speed. What happens next? Well, that is exactly why you are here. And I am going to tell you something right now that is going to make your week a whole lot better. Netflix is not making you wait and wonder anymore. Season 5 of Bridgerton is already happening. Not announced, not rumored. Actually happening right now as you watch this video. Cameras are rolling, the cast is on set, and the story that fans have been begging for since the very first time Michaela walked into that ballroom is finally being told on screen. But here is the thing. This season is not just another Bridgerton love story. It is different in a way that the show has never done before. It is bigger, it is bolder, and if you are a longtime fan of this show, you are going to feel things watching this season that you have never felt before while watching Bridgerton. So stay right here because I'm about to break down everything Netflix is planning, what we know about the story, who is coming back, and when you can actually expect to watch it. Asterisk, before we get into all the exciting news about Season 5, let's take a quick step back and talk about where the story left off. Because if you want to understand why Season 5 feels so important and so different, you need to remember exactly what happened at the end of Season 4 and why so many fans are still thinking about it weeks later. Season 4 gave us Benedict Bridgerton's love story. For the first time in a long time, Benedict was the center of everything. He had spent so many seasons on the sidelines, being the artistic one, the free-spirited one, the brother who never seemed to take anything too seriously. But Season 4 changed all of that. It gave him depth, it gave him heart, and it gave him Sophie Beck, a woman who challenged him and loved him in a way that felt real and earned. The romance between Benedict and Sophie was everything fans had hoped for. It was warm, it was funny, it was emotional, and by the time the season ended, most people watching felt genuinely happy for him. But here is the thing about Bridgerton. It never lets you leave fully satisfied. There is always a thread left hanging. Always a character standing in the corner of the frame with a look on their face that tells you their story is far from over. And in Season 4, that character was Francesca Bridgerton. Francesca has always been one of the quieter members of the Bridgerton family. She does not shout for attention. She does not chase drama. She moves through rooms like she is trying not to disturb the air around her. But underneath all of that quiet, there is so much going on inside her. She feels things deeply. She just does not always know how to say it out loud. And Season 4 reminded us of all of that when it showed us where Francesca's life had ended up after the events of her own story. She had married John Sterling, a good man who truly loved her. But John passed away, and Francesca found herself widowed at a young age, alone in a world that expected women to simply move on and find another husband as quickly as possible. What made it even more complicated was Michaela. Michaela Sterling entered Francesca's life in a way that nobody, not even Francesca herself, was fully prepared for. There was something between them that went beyond friendship, beyond politeness, beyond anything that Regency era London had a word for. And then Michaela was gone. She disappeared from Mayfair without a proper goodbye. And Francesca was left standing there holding feelings she did not fully understand and a future that felt completely uncertain. That is where Season 4 left us with Francesca. No clean ending, no resolution, just a woman standing at the beginning of something that the show had not yet given us the words for. And that right there is exactly what Season 5 is going to pick up and run with. The story that fans have been waiting for is finally about to begin, and Netflix is pulling out everything it has to make sure it is done right. Asterisk, here is something that does not happen very often in the world of Netflix shows. A season gets confirmed, fans celebrate for a day or two, and then they go right back to waiting. Months pass. sometimes a whole year passes. You refresh your feed every morning hoping for a crumb of information, and most days you get absolutely nothing. That has been the reality for so many beloved Netflix shows, but Bridgerton is doing something right now that is genuinely surprising, and honestly, it deserves a lot more attention than it is getting. On March 24, 2026, Netflix made it official. Season 5 of Bridgerton has begun production, not development, not pre-production meetings in a boardroom somewhere. Actual, real, boots-on-the-ground filming. The cast is on set. The costumes are on their backs, the cameras are pointed at faces you already love, and the story is being brought to life right now. At this very moment, while most fans are still processing the ending of Season 4. Think about how unusual that is. Season 4 only finished airing in early 2026. The ink on that season is barely dry, and yet Netflix has already moved the entire machine forward into Season 5. There was no long pause, no extended break, no waiting around for the dust to settle. The moment Season 4 wrapped, the people behind this show were already lacing up their boots and getting ready for the next chapter. And the place where all of this magic is happening is just outside London, at Bridgerton Studios. Now, if you are not familiar with Bridgerton, let me paint the picture for you. Netflix did not just rent a few rooms and set up some cameras there. They actually built a permanent Georgian backlot specifically for Bridgerton. Real streets, real buildings, real Regency-era architecture that the crew can walk through and film in any time they need it. It is essentially a small world frozen in time, built from the ground up so that Bridgerton always has a home to come back to. That level of investment tells you everything you need to know about how seriously Netflix is taking the show. But the speed of this production did not happen by accident. Showrunner Jess Brownell has been very open about her goal to move faster than Bridgerton has ever moved before. She has talked about wanting to close the gap between seasons, about not making fans wait the 18 to 24 months that used to be the norm for this show. And what we are seeing right now is the direct result of that push. The wheels were already turning behind the scenes long before Season 4 even finished airing. Scripts were written, locations were locked, casting was confirmed, so that the moment Season 4 was done, Season 5 could begin without missing a single beat. There is also something else worth mentioning here that shows just how confident Netflix is in this show. Seasons 5 and 6 were both renewed together back in May 2025, not one season at a time, the way most shows get renewed, both of them at once in a single announcement. Netflix looked up Bridgerton and essentially said, "We are not guessing about this. We are not waiting to see how the numbers look. We already know this show matters and we are investing in its future right now." That kind of confidence from a streaming platform is rare. It means the people writing the checks believe in what this show is doing and where it is going. So when you put all of that together, the speed of production, the permanent studio built just for this world, the back-to-back renewal, the showrunner's clear mission to keep momentum going, what you get is a picture of a show that is being handled with real intention and real urgency. Bridgerton is not coasting. It is not resting on the success of its earlier seasons. It is pushing forward, faster than before, with a story in Season 5 that the people behind the show clearly believe is worth every bit of that energy. Asterisk, nobody saw it coming. That is the honest truth. When Bridgerton first premiered, and the world fell in love with Daphne and Simon, and then Anthony and Kate, and then Penelope and Colin, there was a pattern forming. A very familiar, very safe pattern. Boy meets girl. They fight their feelings. Something gets in the way. Love wins in the end. Season after season, that was the rhythm of this show. And nobody was complaining because it was done beautifully every single time. But deep down, a lot of fans were quietly wondering the same thing. Is Bridgerton ever going to do something that truly breaks the mold? Is it ever going to tell a love story that looks different from everything that came before? Season 5 is the answer to that question. And it is a louder answer than anyone expected. Hannah Dodd returns as Lady Francesca Sterling, and Masali Baduza returns as Michaela Sterling. These two women are the heart of Season 5. Their love story is the center of everything. And yes, you heard that correctly. A love story between two women. Season 5 of Bridgerton is going to be the very first season in the history of this show where the central romance is a same-sex love story. That is not a small thing. That is a genuinely historic moment for one of the biggest shows on the planet, and it deserves to be talked about as exactly that. Asterisk, now let us talk about who these two people actually are, because the story only hits as hard as you understand the characters carrying it. Francesca, as we already talked about, is a woman who has spent most of her life feeling slightly out of step with the world around her. And then there is Michaela. Masali Baduza plays her with this quiet intensity that is impossible to look away from. Michaela is not loud about her feelings either, but in a completely different way from Francesca, where Francesca holds things in because she is still figuring out how to express them. Michaela holds things in because she has spent a long time in a world that did not make space for what she felt. She knows exactly what she feels. She has always known. But knowing something and being free to act on it are two very different things. Especially in Regency era London, where the rules about who you are allowed to love were written by people who never stopped to ask whether those rules made any sense. Masali Baduza has talked about wanting every person watching this season, especially people in the queer community, to feel genuinely seen in a way that television does not always deliver. The setting for their story picks up 2 years after John Sterling's death. Francesca has had time to grieve, time to breathe, time to slowly start thinking about what comes next for her life. Society, of course, has opinions about that. The marriage mart is waiting. Lady Danbury has thoughts. The Ton has expectations. Everyone around Francesca has a very clear idea of what her next chapter should look like. And then Michaela comes back to London. That return changes everything. Because all of those feelings that Francesca pushed down and tried to make sense of in the quiet moments of her life, they do not stay quiet anymore when Michaela walks back into the room. And Michaela, who left partly because staying felt impossible, has come back carrying the same weight she left with, except now there is nowhere left to run from it. What Jess Brownell and the writing team have been very deliberate about saying is that this is not going to be a story about suffering for being queer. It is not going to be a season built around shame and hiding and tragedy. The vision from the very beginning has been a season about queer joy, about two people who find each other and choose each other in a world that was not built for them, and who do it anyway, with their whole hearts. That distinction matters enormously, because there is a long history in film and television of queer love stories being told through pain. Season 5 is actively choosing a different path. It is saying that queer love is worthy of the same warmth, the same celebration, the same happy ending that every other Bridgerton couple has received. And it is going to deliver that on one of the biggest stages in streaming television. Asterisk, let's talk about the question that has been sitting in the back of your mind since the moment this video started. Can you actually watch Season 5? When? Is Netflix going to put this thing on the screen so you can sit down with your blanket and your snacks and lose yourself in Francesca and Michaela's world for however many hours it takes? Because that is ultimately what all of this comes down to. All the production news and casting confirmations and showrunner quotes are wonderful, but what every fan really wants to know is the date. So let us get into it honestly and realistically. There is no official release date yet. Netflix has not put a number on the calendar and pointed at it. But here is the thing about release dates. You do not always need an official announcement to figure out roughly when something is coming. You just need to pay attention to the pattern and do a little bit of math. Bridgerton typically takes around 8 months to film a full season once cameras start rolling. Production officially began in late March 2026. If filming follows the usual schedule, the cameras will likely stop rolling sometime around late 2026, probably November or December. After that comes post-production. Editing, scoring, visual effects, color grading, all the behind-the-scenes work that turns raw footage into the polished, gorgeous show you are used to seeing. That process usually takes another few months. Put all of that together and the most realistic window for Season 5 to land on Netflix is somewhere in the spring or summer of 2027. Now here is the reason there is genuine cause for optimism about that timeline. Jess Brownell has been very clear that closing the gap between seasons is a personal mission of hers, the long waits that used to define Bridgerton. Those 18 to 24-month stretches between seasons, she wants those gone. The fact that production on Season 5 started within weeks of Season 4 finishing is proof that she is not just saying that, she is actually making it happen. So while 2027 is the safe and sensible prediction, there is a real possibility that things move faster than expected. Do not rule out an early 2027 premiere if everything goes smoothly on set. Now let us talk about who you are going to see on screen when Season 5 finally arrives. Because beyond Francesca and Michaela, this show has a family full of faces that fans are deeply attached to. Adjo Endo as Lady Danbury is confirmed to be returning, and honestly, could you imagine a Bridgerton season without her? Lady Danbury is the kind of character who makes every single scene she is in sharper, funnier, and more alive. Her relationship with Francesca specifically is one that has a lot of room to grow in Season 5, especially given everything Francesca is about to go through. Beyond Lady Danbury, the wider Bridgerton family is widely expected to return as well. Ruth Gemmell as Lady Bridgerton, Claudia Jessie as Eloise, Luke Newton as Colin, Nicola Coughlan as Penelope, Jonathan Bailey as Anthony, Simone Ashley as Kate, and Luke Thompson as Benedict are all expected to appear in some capacity. Now it is worth being honest here and saying that not all of them will have large roles. Bridgerton has always worked by keeping the previous couples present but stepping them back to supporting positions once their own season is finished. So do not expect Anthony and Kate to suddenly have a huge storyline, but they will be there in the background, keeping the world full and warm and familiar in the way that only the Bridgerton family can. There is also the matter of Lady Whistledown, the mysterious gossip writer who has been the invisible hand steering drama across every season of this show. Jess Brownell has teased that Season 5 will have plenty of Whistledown drama and that fans should expect things to get messy in that department. What exactly that means has not been spelled out, but given that Penelope's identity as Whistledown became public knowledge by the end of her season, there is a very interesting question hanging in the air about what role that character and that column play going forward. It is one of the threads Season 5 is going to have to pick up and do something with. As for the format, Bridgerton has been experimenting with splitting its seasons into 2 parts, releasing a handful of episodes first and then dropping the rest a few weeks later. Whether Season 5 continues that approach or goes back to releasing all episodes at once is something Netflix has not confirmed yet. Either way, the total episode count is expected to land around 8 episodes, which has been the standard for this show from the beginning. And if you are someone who is already thinking past Season 5, here is a little something to keep in mind. Season 6 was renewed at the same time as Season 5, and all signs point to it focusing on Eloise Bridgerton. Eloise has always been one of the most compelling characters in this entire show. She is sharp, she is unconventional, she has never fit neatly into the world she was born into, and her story has been quietly building for years. Her season, whenever it comes, is going to be something very special. But that is a conversation for another video. Right now, in this moment, what matters is that Bridgerton Season 5 is real. It is filming. It is coming. And it is carrying a love story that this show and frankly television as a whole has been needing. For a very long time, Francesca and Michaela deserve their moment, and based on everything we know right now, Netflix is giving it to them with everything they have got. So here is what I want to know from you. Are you excited for Francesca and Michaela's love story to finally take center stage, Or is there another Bridgerton sibling whose season you are even more desperate for? Drop your answer in the comments right now because I read every single one and I genuinely want to know where you stand. If this video gave you something new to think about or got you even a little more excited for what is coming, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. Every single update about Bridgerton Season 5, every casting announcement, every set photo, every release date rumor, I am going to cover all of it right here. You do not want to be the last person in the room to know what is happening.